Hello, my name is John Hoffman. Actually, that's not me. I just wanted to get your attention. I recently had the opportunity to travel to Costa Rica through a very special program. The Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden partners with Project Dragonfly at Miami University to create Earth Expeditions. It is a global conservation program offering university courses throughout various parts of the world. Through these courses, their mission is to build an alliance of conservationists. We'll talk more about this throughout the program. I want to share this experience with you. I had the privilege to travel with a great group of educators and environmentalists from North and South America. The mountain in the background is actually a beautiful volcano, Arenal, one of the rich treasures of this country. A large part of the program involved community-based conservation, and I want to share this with you as well. The purpose of this program is to share the experience and hopefully in the process create awareness about some important environmental issues, introduce you to community-based conservation, and get you thinking about what you can do to become involved. Well, what is community-based conservation, or CBC, as I will refer to it? It arises at the community level rather than nationally or internationally. It takes place right at home. It focuses on the people who bear the cost of conservation. CBC includes natural resources and biodiversity protection. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is the difference or variety of plants and animals in our environment. An area said to have much biodiversity means that there are many kinds of plants and animals, but not necessarily too many of any one kind. Community-based conservation includes natural resources or biodiversity protection by, for, and with the local community. CBC is people and nature together, as distinct from the segregation or separation of people and nature. Everybody in the community participates because everybody has something at stake. Government officials, home builders, parents, children, educators, farmers, factory workers, businesses, local organizations, the rich and poor, we all have a stake in our environment, and we all have a role in protecting our environment. Humans and animals and plants can coexist and live together. Since most of the world's biodiversity is in the hands of poor third world countries like Costa Rica, let's start our journey there. Costa Rica is a small country in Central America. It is bordered on the north by Nicaragua and to the south by Panama. The Costa Ricans are a wonderful, hospitable people. They favor peace and diplomacy. They don't even maintain a standing army. The largest city in Costa Rica is San Jose, and it is the capital. The people of Costa Rica, while becoming more industrialized, primarily farm and ranch. Coffee is one of the main exports of Costa Rica. It is estimated there are 200 different mammal species, 160 of amphibians, 200 species of reptiles, and 850 number of bird species living in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is home to fabulous ecosystems. Ecology is the science of relationships between living organisms, people, plants, and animals, and their environment. An ecosystem, then, is a community of living organisms and how they interact and function together. And the ecosystems are many. They include a lowland rainforest, a cloud forest, and volcanic areas. We will primarily be talking about the rainforest and the cloud forest. A rainforest is hot and humid. It gets a lot of rain, more than 100 inches per year. How does that compare to rainfall at your home? Temperatures don't vary too much throughout the year, and because they are near the equator, hours of daylight are consistent throughout the year. Again, how does that compare to your area? Rainforests cover about 7% of the Earth's land surface, but they contain more than half of the world's plants and animals. There are approximately 1,800 flowering plant species in the tropical lowland rainforest, which includes about 320 species of trees. Can you think of even 25 species of trees in your area? A cloud forest is like a rainforest. It's at a higher elevation. Temperatures are cooler. The forest is actually in the clouds, and the moisture comes from rain, mist, fog, and vegetation, and is very dense. These ecosystems are very fragile. How is it that they are so fragile? Well, some birds actually migrate up and down a mountain at different times of the year. So if the bottom of the mountain is deforested, meaning the trees are cut down and the forest cleared, then there is nowhere for the birds to go when it is time for them to travel down the mountain. And if one species goes away, then perhaps others do as well. For example, snakes feed on frogs. If the frogs go away, perhaps the snakes go away. And so it is very important to preserve habitat. Habitat is where you, plants, and animals live. Let's use another example. The strawberry poison dart frog, or blue jeans frog, lives in the rainforest. It is often called a blue jeans frog because of its blue legs. All species, like the dart frog, struggle to survive. The goal is to propagate or continue the species. In Costa Rica, where the ecosystem is especially fragile, the dart frog relies on an interesting strategy to survive. If it lays its eggs in water, the water might dry up or the eggs eaten by the many other animals in their struggle for survival. So the dart frog carries its single tadpole around with it on its back. Therefore, it is vitally important to preserve the habitat so it can continue to survive. Nearly all the flowering plant species are pollinated by animals. Some pollinators are very specific so that only one or two animals may pollinate a given plant. If the animal that pollinates the plant goes away, so too does that plant. We are accustomed to seeing birds like the beautiful cardinal lay many eggs, with 3 or more young in 1 or 2 nesting cycles per year. In the cloud forest and rainforest, however, birds will often nest several times a year, but with only 1 young each time. The reason for this is that several young birds would be more likely to attract predators or other animals that feed upon them. Birds everywhere need habitat and cover to survive. Why else is it important to preserve habitat? Well, approximately 70% of all natural cancer-fighting medicines comes from plants. And you know what? Most of these plants are in the rainforest. If we continue to lose rainforest, it is possible the quality of life of people all over the world can lessen. And are not beautiful animals and plants a treasure worth preserving themselves? Well, how is this linked or related to your own community? Our global or world ecology operates the same way. Take the beautiful calliope, rufous, or black-chin hummingbirds. These birds spend their summer in places like British Columbia, a province of Canada. They migrate to Mexico and Central America to winter. If their habitat is lost or damaged anywhere from British Columbia or your hometown or Costa Rica, then we risk losing these beautiful animals. Are you familiar with the monarch butterfly? It too migrates from North America to Mexico and needs habitat protection to survive. Habitat preservation, then, is an important environmental issue. Although habitat loss is happening, positive steps are being taken by concerned people, governments, businesses, and groups to prevent it. Global warming is another environmental issue. Global warming is an increase in the average temperature of the world's air, water, and land masses. Although our planet has experienced warmer and colder periods than now, it appears our Earth is warming at a rather fast pace. Scientists believe it is a result of human activities, especially the burning of fossil fuels like gas, oil, and coal. These fuels, when burned, release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and these gases in our atmosphere tend to retain or hold more of the heat provided to us by the sun. If excess carbon dioxide is undesirable in our atmosphere, well, how do we get rid of it? Absorption into the oceans is one way, and another way is through the photosynthesis of plants. Photosynthesis converts carbon dioxide into oxygen, while the carbon becomes part of the plant. Rain and cloud forests play a vital role then in regulating our planet's temperature. And yet there is another way to minimize the amount we put into the atmosphere. More fuel-efficient cars, conservation of energy, and utilization of solar and wind power all mean less carbon dioxide goes into the atmosphere. Why, carpooling alone helps. What else can you think of that might help use energy more wisely? It is to everyone's advantage to control air pollution emissions. Higher mileage standards for cars, hybrid cars, cars that use gas and electric, control of industrial stack emissions with scrubbers and other environmental controls, enforcement of air quality standards all result in a better quality of life for you and for me. You might ask, what does air quality in your hometown have to do with air quality in Costa Rica? And it would be a good question. Air knows few boundaries. Pollutants that enter the air in one state or country can travel with air currents to other states and countries. Air quality then is not always a matter of how close to home is it. Water quality is another important environmental issue. Contaminated water causes disease and illness. Contamination can come from bacteria that are found in animal feces. It can also come from dangerous chemical pollutants that find their way into our water supplies. Chemicals that are not used wisely or that enter the environment irresponsibly can lead to many serious diseases. Erosion, or the removal of land caused by water movement like rain and currents, is also a serious problem. Valuable land may be degraded from erosion. Water, like air, knows few boundaries. Many efforts are underway to address environmental issues. Now that we know more about some of those issues, habitat loss, global warming, air and water quality, let's consider some of the efforts. Countries, represented by their governments, actively pursue and support conservation efforts. After all, it is in their citizens' best interest to sustain their environment. Sustain means to preserve a resource for current and future generations. We're perhaps familiar with the fable of the goose that laid the golden egg. If we kill the goose that lays the golden eggs, we no longer have golden eggs. See, resources are limited. There is only so much of any one resource on the earth, and when it's gone, well, it's gone. Oil is one example. Oil, aside from its burning contributing to excess carbon dioxide in our environment, is limited. Rainforests too are limited. When they are gone, they're gone. But it is the rainforest that removes the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Do you see how that affects all of us and how that is so related? So countries often band together to form alliances and create international agreements to help preserve resources. Sustaining resources is the key. Unfortunately, these efforts alone are not always effective. It is very difficult to get so many countries to agree on any one thing. What may help preserve and sustain a resource on a global basis is not always perceived as being in the best interest of a single country. For example, a country that relies upon fishing for its citizens' livelihood may view quotas or limited catches of fish as interference with their livelihood and quality of life. Industry and business also pursue conservation. Companies like Patagonia, a clothing manufacturer, restrict usage of materials that are considered to be environmentally unfriendly. A recent article in USA Today revealed Walmart will only sell salmon that comes from sustainable resources. Business and industry alike also support non-governmental agencies, or NGOs, and community-based conservation efforts as well. Organizations like the World Wildlife Federation, the Nature Conservancy, and Water for People contribute greatly to environmental causes. Much of the preserve that makes up the cloud forest in Costa Rica was purchased by NGOs. In Costa Rica, NGOs also contribute to community-based conservation efforts. NGOs donated the funds to build school buildings at the Mountain Cloud Forest School. NGOs' efforts, while substantial, also raise some concerns. Contributors may have their self-interest at heart, and the organizations tend to be somewhat bureaucratic. And so, community-based conservation is taking a more important role throughout the world. CBC efforts abound in third world countries and at home. CBC promotes conservation and preservation and sustainability of resources right where the people live, at home. In Costa Rica, we met with teachers at the Mountain Cloud Forest School. The Cloud Forest School is kindergarten through 11 school located in Monteverde, Costa Rica. The school was founded in 1991 to increase educational opportunities for a growing population of school-aged children in the area. This independent school offers creative education to about 220 students with an emphasis on integrating environmental education into all aspects of the school. The curriculum at the Monteverde Mountain Cloud School includes environmental issues and conservation as part of the children's overall education. The school itself is located in the cloud forest that creates a beautiful backdrop for learning. So environmental education in communities is extremely important. People need to grow up knowing why our environment is so important and what they can do to help preserve it. In some studies, it has been shown that not only do children gain much knowledge when exposed to conservation issues, but you know what? They also transfer that knowledge to their parents. You are now the teacher. The success of any long-term conservation strategy will ultimately rely on the education of its participants. Other strategies that provide revenue to sustain CBC include ecotourism. Ecotourism means that the economy of a country benefits from tourists. Many jobs are created, including tour guides. So ecotourism provides jobs, either directly or indirectly, in these areas. However, protected area visitation may degrade natural resources, particularly in areas of concentrated visitor activities like trails and recreation sites. These impacts require careful management. Opportunities abound in the United States to participate in conservation efforts and to help sustain community-based conservation. The United States Environmental Protection Agency website, Adopt Your Watersheds Group by State, lists hundreds of organizations, including watershed district groups, soil and water conservation groups, scenic river programs, water and wildlife societies, and many others. These groups tend to respect social, economic, and political perspectives. The groups work with schools, local politicians, and community leaders, advocacy groups, contractors, and others to craft missions and visions with clear goals and objectives. Watershed groups are very active at a grassroots level with environmental education of adults and children, creating riparian corridors, sponsoring river cleanup events, working with the community on specific environmental projects. The Ottawa River Coalition in Ohio was instrumental in obtaining grant money for projects to curb stormwater runoff, minimize erosion, teach students, and work with local politicians and contractors on a very significant project. Funding is also available for many efforts on a grassroots level. For example, in Ohio, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources provides numerous grants for NatureWorks, Land and Water Conservation Fund, trails programs, and the Ohio Lake Erie Conservation Reserve. There are so many methods available to initiate and sustain CBC. Why should you get involved? How can you get involved? These are questions I would like to leave with you. What ideas do you have? How would you go about exploring opportunities in your own community? Your teacher looks forward to discussing these questions with you. Your teacher is a great person, an ambassador for our environment, and a friend of mine. Your teacher has contributed to this presentation. I would like to know what you think too, and you can mail me your thoughts, ideas, pictures, or you can email me. I hope you enjoyed the program. I look forward to hear from you. Thank you very much.